So much, David. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping everybody can see. I think we're good to go and we'll just get started. So as David said, thank you so much for joining today's event and hanging with us. My name is Deb Stambaugh. I'm head of strategic marketing for Samsung Ads. We have a powerhouse lineup and a packed agenda, so I'm just going to jump right in. We're going to kick off the session talking with Grace Dolan about in a fireside chat to discuss Samsung's evolution in the gaming sector. We'll share a little bit of our insights on our latest gaming research, consumer behaviors, consumer trends, all things gaming that'll help you with all of your media. And we'll follow that up with a panel of thought leaders in the gaming space to really discuss those macro trends in a broader way and how Samsung Ads is helping brands to connect with this coveted audience. So before we jump in, let me give you a little bit about Samsung Ads. So quite frankly, and I love this part of my job, to be honest, we are the brand that people love most around the world. At Samsung Ads, our advertising ecosystem spans smart TV, mobile, and even appliances. And we like to say that life runs through us because billions of people live their lives through Samsung smart devices. And as an ads business, we help consumers discover the content they'll love and the brands they want to buy. So to give a little bit more and dig a little bit deeper into our connected TV offering, we have some incredible exclusive inventory and offer some of the most impactful experiences in both TV and mobile. With more than 50 million smart TVs and powered by our first-party proprietary automatic content recognition data, 2.5 times the scale of the next ACR provider, we really enable brands to know and find your audience across linear and streaming, manage reach and frequency, and then measure with confidence. And really to do at the end of the day, what's most important is connect with consumers at every moment of discovery. Really, that's what we're all here for, and certainly in the gaming space. Now, let's get into this. So I am thrilled to welcome Grace Dolan to the stage here. Grace is Vice President of Integrated Marketing for the Home Entertainment Division of Samsung Electronics America. In this role, Grace has led a passion-based marketing and innovation strategy for the US. She's redefined the brand's purpose to be consumer-focused and serving the consumer. She's elevated Samsung's efforts to deliver the ultimate home entertainment experience to gamers, streamers, sports fans, led award-winning advertising, created first-of-a-kind partnerships with Netflix, ESPN, and of course, Xbox, all of which has propelled Samsung's TV leadership in the category. So Grace, welcome. I'm so happy to be speaking with you about this today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Grace, let's dive right into it. Talk to us a little bit about, this is a meaty question. How does Samsung Electronics think about gaming? How has that evolved since COVID? And how have you had to respond as a brand?
Oh gosh, it's a lot. So first, we're so excited about the gaming space. It has just evolved so tremendously. And in particular, the last couple of years really accelerated. We started our journey with gaming about 5 years ago. And at the time we were just like barely an endemic brand, just trying to get a little bit closer to the gaming audience. And at the time that gaming audience was still really niche. In the past few years, the gaming world has seen just a massive explosion, right? Like now, if you talk to consumers, 4 out of 5 identify as gamers. And that includes boomers and Gen Xers. So it's, lots of diversity within this audience. It's become truly mainstream. So I think the challenge now as a marketer, in addition to a manufacturer, is just, just like in traditional sports and media, we find ourselves needing to segment this really broad audience to make sure that we're continuing to deliver content and experiences that are relevant for these very distinct audience profiles. So, just as you would never dream to serve up the same content to an NFL versus an NHL audience just because they both like sports, we have to create wildly different experiences for somebody who is an NBA 2K fan versus someone who plays maybe Call of Duty Black Ops, right? There's some overlap, but there's a recognition that the passions might, diverge a bit. So lots to think about, lots to do, lots of evolution, and lots of agile responsiveness.
How has COVID changed this for Samsung Electronics, and how have you guys had to respond on that one?
Yeah, no, so, again, because of COVID making gaming so much more mainstream, I think we've just had to take a much broader approach to understanding who these varying audience members are, because it's not just one niche group of consumers, right? It's a whole very diverse world of gaming segments, of people who are, driven and motivated by very different things. And so we have to pivot and make sure that we're talking to them in the appropriate way.
That it actually makes me think about, and so I know Nick is going to share some insights later, but when I think about Samsung Electronics, can you talk to us a little bit about how did Samsung Electronics get into the gaming spaces and become sort of this endemic, hybrid, if you will?
So oh gosh. So we entered the gaming space a pretty long time ago. I mean, over a decade ago, but in a kind of like dipping your toes in the water. In 2016, we kind of dove in right away, and it was all very insight based. We were seeing pretty flat performance on the business, and we dove in and talked to TV owners, and we just had this big aha moment that these TV owners just didn't think that they needed to upgrade their TV. And it's because of the TV they'd purchased 7 years ago seemed fine, because they didn't realize how much innovation had passed since they purchased it. So one of the key exceptions was gaming and gamers, because TV performance is directly tied to a gamer's ability to win. So, the example I love to give is with first person shooting. Say say you play first person shooter games and your TV frame rates just can't keep up with your console frame rates. You're toast, right? You're dead. And that would be the aha moment for the gamer to say, you know what, I really do need to upgrade my TV. So we just started paying a lot more attention to this audience. We built strategic partnerships to help us grow gaming credibility, uncover gaming insights and pain points, establish tech roadmaps to create better gaming experiences. And of course, understanding how to communicate, where to communicate with this audience to really build an authentic relationship with our brand.
That's amazing. So you actually mentioned strategic partnerships. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll call out one of our partners who's probably been our most valuable partner in this gaming journey, and that's Xbox. We partnered in 2016, and that was when they were preparing to launch the Xbox One X, and we were preparing to launch our QLED 4K TV. And it was just this moment, as we looked at this 6 teraflop, incredibly powerful console, and then this absolutely stunning 4K TV, we're like, wow, we can really bring 4K gaming to life if we were to join forces. And so that's what we did. And at the time, it was for a marketing event, but over the course of the last 5 years, that partnership has grown into a very deep and multi-year relationship across engineering, insights, marketing, business development, and what kind of drives all of our teams within our broader companies is just how do we enhance and then maximize the experience that gamers have with our products. So the mission and the brief has been really, really very, very clear. And I think because we've been very true to our, end vision of bringing these experiences to consumers, we've also, borne a lot of fruit for the brand. So, this past late last year when we saw all these next gen consoles launching, Samsung was the only brand that wasn't buggy on day one. And it's because we had been working with their engineering team for months, just prototyping and making sure that the experience was really good. And we even got an endorsement from Microsoft in this partnership period. And it was the first time that Microsoft had ever endorsed another big brand as like the best way to play Xbox. So, lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that says a lot, right? Because we're from a Samsung Electronics perspective, you built it in, right? You built the capability in so that the gamer has, as we talked about at the very beginning, the ultimate experience, right? Because
For sure.
otherwise,
For
uh,
sure. Yeah, the technology was there. It wasn't just fluff.
right, exactly, exactly. So let's, sort of last thoughts here before we transition. Where do you see the future of gaming heading, and how will Samsung support this in the market?
Oh my gosh. The acceleration is just beginning. Um, Gaming, as it just becomes more and more mainstream, you can expect that you will see even more investment in this space. So greater access, more diversity of formats. And I think a lot of you have probably seen Xbox's announcement earlier, this week, talking about integrating cloud gaming into TVs. Like, you'll see much more of brands trying to create new and better and more diverse experiences for that audience. Um, and I also get really excited because within that, as a marketer, thinking of the experiences that we can create within the metaverse, right? Like, we're seeing that line between virtual and real, really start to fade. And it's really, really exciting to think about how we can interact with our gaming audience in that space and in this space, and merge the two for even new and more exciting opportunities. So lots more to come in this industry. I would hold on to your hats. How are you?
Well, it's great that we've got the foundation, you've got a foundation that you've built, and an amazing foundation to build upon. So thank you, Grace. That was great. I really appreciate the time.
Thanks, Deb.
All right. Talk to you soon. Okay, guys, we're going to keep it moving. I would love to introduce, hold on, I got to share back because I wanted to see everybody's beautiful face here. I would love to introduce Nick Barrionuevo, who is our head of gaming industries. Sorry, guys. Head of gaming and sales partnership and our industry lead here at Samsung Ads, who's going to really provide a quick overview on our latest gaming research. So Nick, over to you.
Great, thanks, Deb. Appreciate it. What a great conversation with Grace. That was really, really informative and just great to hear. As I'll begin here, with our proprietary data, we understand the gaming audience from both a hardware perspective and a behavior perspective. And our unique data and insights mean we can observe how gamers spend time on their Samsung smart TVs, whether watching linear TV or streaming content, and time spent on their game consoles. And by leveraging our unique automatic content recognition technology that recognizes content viewership across linear TV, OTT, one sec here. I think, Deb, one sec here. I think we lost our presentation, but that's okay. Maybe we can bring Deb back. Wonderful. Yeah, hi, Deb. We lost you. There you go. Sure, no problem. These things happen, but anyways, as I was saying, by leveraging our unique automatic content recognition technology which Deb sort of touched on at the beginning of this session, it helps us recognize content viewership across linear TV, OTT, and gaming environments, and that really enables us and our platform to recognize hundreds of the most popular game titles in the US and identifies each gaming session, allowing brands to reach players of specific consoles, games, and genres. And we can target and report on engagement and lift on users exposed to a brand's ads on our platform. And we work with partners to reach gamers through brand safe advertising solutions across CTV, mobile PC, and Samsung's exclusive smart TV ad experiences. And our native experiences reach gamers from the moment they turn on their TV as they enter their game console. And we can also drive high visibility with premium new ad formats that we're developing that we've introduced actually, such as our game console launcher on smart TVs. And through our Samsung TV Plus and Samsung Content Network, we can reach gamers in streaming and contextually relevant environments within our ad-supported video on demand apps and on Galaxy mobile devices as consumers consider their next gaming experience. And because we know what games are being played and used, our enhanced audience targeting helps to capture real-time TV and gaming behaviors across the Samsung household. And the good news is gamers are reachable during their streaming time. And what we found is in Q4 2020, gamers spent more than 3 hours streaming per day. And over the past year, gamers' time spent with ad-supported video on demand outpaced subscription video on demand in terms of growth. Compared to Q4 2019, gamers spent plus 74% more time with their ad-supported video on demand services and 71% more time with their subscription video on demand apps. And first, let's take a look at gaming behavior overall. Since 2020, there were over 17.4 million gamers on Samsung Smart TVs. No surprise, with so much time spent at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic, gamers were up plus 88% year over year in Q1 2021. And in addition, with the launch of the next generation consoles in November, we saw average daily gamers actually surging on our platform. This continued into 2021, and we saw average daily gamers are up plus 71% in January 2021 year over year. And with the newly released gaming consoles from Xbox and PlayStation in November 2020, we looked at how those consoles affected gamers' engagement. And on average, what we found is that next generation gamers are spending more than twice the amount of time with their consoles than previous generation gamers. And we anticipate that overall time spent gaming will increase to levels notably higher than we are seeing today. And when thinking about this from an advertiser perspective, what matters is how can I reach them? And more than half of gamers' TV time was spent streaming, and nearly a third was spent gaming on our platform. This means 80% of gamers' time on the Samsung platform are not exposed to traditional TV advertising, which makes CTV even more critical than ever to reach these folks. Now I'm going to pass it back to Deb to introduce our panel. Oh, Deb, I think you may be on mute.
Sorry, thank you. Those were great insights, Nick. And I think it just reflects on how much, number one, gaming has become the mainstream, as Grace talked about, I think is the previous panel we're talking about, and how, there's just so much opportunity from a CTV space to really reach those gamers. So let me introduce our panel. Nick is going to stick with us, so we're psyched to have him. We also have Michael Bernardoni, who's the global business lead of OMD Activision, as well as Mike Lucero, director of gaming and product management at Samsung Electronics. So I'm going to have a Nick B, a Michael B, and a Mike Lucero. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to keep everybody straight as we go. And I'm going to stop sharing just so we can see each other. And I think that's a little bit better. Okay, so let's dig in, guys. First question. Mike Lucero, if I can throw this to you to start off, and then we'd love to do a round robin. So how are we competing for gamers' share of time in the world of entertainment in total?
Oh, just starting off with a bang right out of the get-go.
Starting off with a bang.
First of all, thank you for hosting the panel and having us here. It's been a great conversation today already. So it's interesting because I've worked on several game console launches and also with Twitch. When it's funny, I worked on the original Xbox, and when we launched that, we were competing against PlayStation and Nintendo, and that was pretty much it. And now the number of choices that gamers have is just mind-numbing. So the question is why? There's really two questions. Gaming continues to be the biggest form of entertainment, $180 billion in revenue this year, 2.8 million gamers worldwide. How does it continue to have its really astonishing growth? So there's a couple of I think key factors, and I think it's why brands want to continue to stay close to gaming as a as a connection point, passion point for their audiences. So the first is the interaction model. The fact that it drives so much engagement is really key because you're leaning into the experience, whether you're playing your games on a console or on your PC. You're paying attention, you're focused, and you're very passionate about what you're doing, and that interactivity drives engagement that is going to keep people there longer. Same with, example with Twitch. Chat is an amazing interaction tool because it drives that interaction with the community. So I think the very nature of gaming makes it naturally something that people will spend more time doing, and that's exactly what's happened over the the past couple decades. The other thing that's really grown in the last few years from a how do you capture those and keep those audiences around community, and whether it's your immediate friends or the influencers you follow on Twitch or YouTube Gaming or whatever, it's the fact that gaming has become this huge community and all your friends are doing it. So again, that's going to keep your audiences focused on that medium, which is why they continue to be staying for such long periods of time. And then last, and certainly the most important, is around content. And I couldn't be more excited than right now during E3, with all these, there's great new franchises. Bethesda announced an exciting new franchise in there on Saturday. But then there's also sort of resurgence of old franchises or sort of mashup franchises where they're bringing more of the sort of movie-based IP into gaming. So it's the fact that content, both from a gaming perspective and as in games you will play, and also the fact that there's a constellation of gaming content from video suppliers like Netflix, with some of the things they're doing with Witcher and Resident Evil and such, Cuphead. That's just more and more entertainment options around gaming that it's kind of a snowball that's going faster and faster down the mountain. So it's there's a lot of great reasons why gaming continues to grow. And, I think those are three of the most important factors.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I mean, it really is, our worlds are colliding, right? Michael B., talk to us a little bit from an Activision perspective. Do you guys find when you're thinking about attracting audiences, are they, streaming more entertainment in general? Is it gaming specifically? It sounds like from Mike Lucero, it's a little bit of both.
Well, it is a little bit of both, and I support a bunch of what Mike has put forth. I think there's some more anthropological issues that we need to introduce to this, and some of those is that gaming was always on the rise even before an event such as the pandemic and
Right.
what has happened there. But I think what's really interesting is about where gaming as a platform of participation fits into culture, and how it's gained so much more step change influence today than it was previously. And what I mean by that is when you look at what happened with the pandemic, there was a lot more, obviously everyone was at home and people of certain ages had to, entertain themselves in different ways. You had streaming, which we've all, obviously binged to a point of almost exhaustion, which is a passive form. There's only so much content that was produced that you can consume, and we've seen the effects of that. So even as we start to say, are we headed back to normal, or who's streaming more, or who's going to play more games? What we see is that while we were in the pandemic, streaming was at a higher watermark in terms of consumption, and gaming obviously rose as well. But now as we're coming out, we start to see them almost in perfect competition. So gaming has stayed at a higher watermark than streaming has. And the reason is that one is passive and the other is active. And the other thing I think that's interesting is that there is no new normal, and 30% of people say there isn't, except for 60% of those people who are parents, who are optimistically hoping that they can get the kids that they give permission to game back into a different place, except for that's never going to change, because now it's a social platform. I wouldn't even call it gaming.
Totally. I mean, I know my kids are downstairs shouting into a microphone all night on the weekends when we let them play. Nick B, anything to add on either audience or streaming and opting in more, or are you just in full agreement?
I'm in full agreement. I think, as consumption trends sort of evolve, we're seeing sort of the ad tech and, media community as always sort of start to follow. So I think, I don't have much to add to these fine gentlemen in this regard.
So let me switch then direction slightly. So talk to us as a leader for Samsung Ads in the gaming space. How are endemic gaming companies reaching gamers versus non-endemic gaming companies? that know that, the audience is valuable. I mean, as we just, heard from both of our Mike and Michael.
Yeah. I mean, I think, some of the research that I just mentioned, the fact that what we've learned over this past year is that, 83% of all gamers are quote unquote mostly streaming, right? Meaning they're spending most of their TV time streaming over watching linear TV. So that's like a starting point. And if you're an advertiser looking to reach gamers on Samsung smart TVs, for example, and your plan only includes linear, you're risking missing 8 and 10 gamers with your message, right? Just to start off there. So in addition to CTV and reaching gamers and ad-supported video apps, which is certainly a big part of what's happening in the industry, we've found that there's opportunities to connect with gamers before they begin their gaming or subscription video on demand session, for example, right? So what we're seeing is gamers are spending more time in the Smart Hub than the overall Samsung audience. And for those who might not know what the Smart Hub sort of refers to, the Smart Hub on Samsung Smart TVs is where consumers spend their time sort of navigating and discovering new content, apps and games to play. So it's a really sort of critical point of connection with the gamer as they're sort of navigating that experience. And what we found through our research is that during 2021 or during Q1 of 2021, game console owners and heavy gamers spent over 20% more time in the Smart Hub viewing streaming TV content and gaming than the overall Samsung audience. So leveraging the Smart Hub in addition to CTV in terms of ad opportunities gives our advertising partners the ability to reach gamers before they enter or when they end their gaming and subscription video on demand sessions. And just finally, partners utilize this approach a lot, and what we're seeing both with endemic and non-endemic brands, they utilize this approach to complement their existing linear TV and OTT strategies to drive incremental reach and gameplay conversions, as well as provide insights into their audience's cross-device behaviors.
That's awesome. And I know, I think the latest stat I saw is something like 20 minutes of time can be spent on that Smart Hub. And you're saying it's 20% more for gamers. So that's super impressive. What a great way to sort of a moment to engage. Mike Lucero, can you just double down for us a little bit on that from a services and TV perspective? Like how are, and even from some of the comments that Grace made, how are we really making that experience great for gamers?
Yeah, so a really good question. And I think some of the, first of all, I think Samsung has done, at the beginning of the day, it's all about great products, and, I've done a ton of research now with gamers, and they absolutely appreciate the features that Grace mentioned that we put into our TVs that just create a better gaming experience. The fact that you buy your new Series X or PS5 console, and the fact that your refresh rates are faster, and the difference is, absolutely, you can see it if you do a side-by-side comparison. So, delivering great products that speak to gamers. We had the game bar and the ultra wide screen that was more for PC gamers, but again, a gamer is a gamer. So yep. It's still those people love that. So I think the innovation we've done as a company, not just on the television, but that goes to our bigger gaming brand. What we've done on in Galaxy, for example, with X out in Game Pass. That was bringing for the first time console quality streaming to the phones. Right. That was not lost by the vast universe of gamers. So they appreciate the fact that that's something where we're innovating and we're working with the leading partners to do that. And that's really sort of changing the frame that they operate in from a brand perception perspective. So I think having that innovation that we bring uniquely at Samsung is super valuable and recognized by gamers. Last but not least, and again, I always will end up at the content, but even on the video content side, we've got our TV Plus service, we've got an owned and operated channel there called Gamer 365 that's doing very well. It's, the growth rates there have gone up dramatically since the beginning of that. And we've brought more video content to our TV Plus lineup with some other partners, improved content from IGN, from Ben. So we're trying to just continue to up-level the quality of the content. So that's going to just give us both credibility with them and also drive engagement and utilization of those services by those gamers.
Yeah, and I love what you said, Mike, in terms of, really it's every experience. And as we talked about at the beginning, right? Our job as marketers, as game creators, et cetera, is to connect at every moment we can. So having that, entire household, that entire connected household is so powerful about from a Samsung perspective overall. Michael B, I want to switch over to you. Let's hear from like the person that's actually owning it at the end of the day, right? So talk to us about Activision. How are you guys using CTV? Who are you trying to reach? How's it been effective for you?
Yeah, I think certainly as these two gentlemen have pointed out, I think one of the important things is first and foremost is the ownership of an ecosystem. As Nick points out, what you're developing is you have a content ecosystem, but it's not just a content ecosystem. It's a place where people are going for that suggestion. So it's for us, we use it as a living laboratory, really, to understand how certain of our targets, whether they might be the ones that have that 20% more engagement in a specific ecosystem, like what that really represents. When we're working in terms of media, we always have to understand where effectiveness and efficiency exists. And of course, there's a lot of different platforms that we need to consider when we're doing these things. But from a standpoint of being into an end-to-end closed loop ecosystem, there's a lot of value in terms of what that can get a read on of those most valuable gamers, as we would say, because that's who we're after. But ultimately, at some point, you need to understand where do you invest a dime versus a dollar in terms of those groups. And that's what we try to evidence. We try to understand how they're managing through the ecosystem, what the line of sight into the future is such as Mike is pointing out. There's different journey sets that we need to understand in terms of engagement, not only with the screen, but also with the time dynamics and the engagement rates that we see from those different areas. And so for us, that leads into those insights for us of effectiveness, where we can also scale that out, not from a top or a bottom funnel, but from the mid funnel standpoint.
Got it. And how did linear play a role in the effectiveness of your campaign?
Linear is always going to provide that, the tonnage in terms of impressions. It's not something obviously that we can be as targeted in terms of tactics, which is something that CTV is always going to give us that line of sight to. However, it's we can't see the world if we're a person with a hammer, that the world is a nail. There's a lot of different tool sets. And so linear, when we find that in combination, with CTV, we use CTV as a place where we can also gain insights on where to invest into the content in linear. So that makes it much more efficient in terms of an approach where we start to use CTV and linear together.
Got it. And that makes a ton of sense. Nick B, are you seeing similar themes in terms of some of your other buyers, both endemic, non-endemic?
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely kind of look at the holistic TV to OTT to gaming sort of ecosystem. And what we found, and Michael, this is probably what you see as well, is that linear delivers sort of that important upper funnel awareness sort of scale metric, right? But maybe doesn't deliver sort of the same level of lower funnel influence as like on a Samsung Smart TV through our platform, right? But through both, and we see similarities actually evolving in how endemic entertainment partners advertise on the platform by owning sort of more of that share of voice in front of their most desired audience, primarily driven by the deterministic data and insights from Samsung, but also our ability to measure the holistic view of the customer journey, right, across linear, OTT, and gaming, and sort of be a partner that can help, at least within the context of our sort of broad footprint, be a partner that can help look at that,
Absolutely. Mike Lucero, anything to add? I mean, right, so the ecosystem is so dynamic right now. We've got, there's so many choices across linear and OTT. Anything to add from a your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Mike and Nick nailed on the head in terms of, top of the funnel is the obvious, and then, middle of the funnel as we get closer to, as you get into more of the CTV area. The other thing that I found interesting, and this is through some of the work we've done on our own channel, is, just the great opportunity for branded content to come in. It's like there's tons of amazing content out there, and we're a place where that some of that can easily come to life, and we tied into we work closely with Nick and the team on that. So you put those together, and you really create exciting opportunities for brands because they've got the stuff they want to get out there, and the cross-pollination opportunity is quite nice, and it's very partner friendly and also customer friendly because our audiences love this content. So let's give it to them.
Yeah, no, and that makes total sense because, right, wherever you are, if you're a gaming fan, you want to be able to get gaming content. You want to be able to engage and be engaged with. I think one of the not even misconceptions, but one of the things that I think is so powerful that's a little under celebrated even sometimes from a consumer perspective is, we all expect to be served up the things that we're interested in. So with advertisers and systems like Samsung Ads and advertisers like Activision, that's exactly the objective, right? We're trying to actually engage people with the things that they're interested in. So I think it's we're at this sort of momentous moment here. Okay, guys, we're going to go into like a little bit of predictions for the future. So Mike Lucero, I'm going to actually start with you. What does the future of TV and gaming look like? What where are we headed?
So Grace and I are quite aligned. I had my list of 3 top trends, and she, of course, hopped right onto 2 of them. The first being metaverse, and the second being cloud gaming. I'm super excited about both of those, particularly since this is a summit about branding. I think the metaverse is just such an amazing opportunity for brands to participate. And I know the publishers are probably eager to sort of tap into that business model. So I think just seeing an innovation there and partnership there, something I look forward to seeing, ideally experiencing firsthand as a business person, but also as a consumer. I think there's a huge appetite around cool activations there from a brand perspective. And in terms of cloud streaming, what gets me the most excited is really, and again, this is about the gamers themselves, and what I've heard about the topic is that it provides accessibility. It's like the fact that the investments aren't required as you don't have to buy consoles or whatever it ends up being, PCs, whatever it is that's really expensive. Those barriers go away, and what that means is that again, the number keeps getting bigger in terms of gamers. So that number will continue to grow, and again, publishers will benefit because more of their content will be more easily accessible without barriers to consumers. So I'm just excited in watching that revolution over the next 5 years, let's say. So those are kind of some more obvious ones, and I know that esports is something we continue to talk about, and it's kind of a little bit last year's beating of the drum, but I think really nailing esports over the next few years is going to be super important. It's been esports also has really sort of benefited from COVID, but now what does it mean to actually for those businesses to land properly and turn into functioning businesses down the road? Is obviously super important because there's a huge appetite for it. It's a lot of money been thrown at it, but actually having it be impactful and meaningful to marketers is really the key there. And it's not about just slapping logos on there. It's like how do you do something, and how do you make sure your brand shares brand values with the esports teams and the IP that they're playing. There's a lot of consideration that needs to go into that, not just to check the esports box. I encourage you to work with your agents, whoever your partners are, in terms of curating those right partnerships. I encourage you to line those up and do those in a very thoughtful manner. The last thing is actually something that Nick just alluded to, which is data. I think data it's already, as Michael indicated, is super important in terms of making those decisions, but we're just going to get more and more better data. We have now data on, mobile and TV. So, this treasure trove of data used respectfully by the users. The users actually really want to have better ideas presented to them. So I think that everyone will be benefactors of that. So when that really comes to life, it's going to be, a big win, and things are only going to get better in terms of our ability to actually work with data and derive value from it.
Yeah, I love that, Mike. I mean, what I heard from what you said is not only right. So esports, huge opportunity. cloud gaming, democratizing gaming, and then, you know, right, in terms of the, whether it's the metaverse or data or leveraging data, those two things kind of go together, right? You can
Absolutely.
serve up these experiences in the metaverse that are really meaningful, really impactful, and link together a brand's value and their offering where consumers really ready to consume and buy, right? So
Yeah.
I love that. I think gaming it's such a, you know, a prime sector to really do so many things for so many people. Michael B, let me turn it over to you. What's your prediction? Tell us what the future of gaming looks like from an OMD Activision perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. Obviously, you know, as Mike was pointing out, there are some of those, you know, the cloud-based and esports and everything else that's fundamental to those. But I think that there's other areas that really kind of get interesting when we start to talk about, you know, more of the speed, more of the accessibility, more reduced barriers of gaming, which is what you see trending out in terms of, you know, even in the APAC region versus a, you know, console-based sort of US opportunity here. And even like the freemium models, like how do you engage more younger audiences? How are they becoming more social, such as even the Among Us? What is the role of influencers in this ecosystem as they start to build? And so I think when you have all those ingredients together, you start to get something where you see more and more devices disappear. And what's left is a relationship of credentials and access. And so that really increases the opportunity to engage with more people more often and introduce them into gaming. Now, that being said, then how does that start to influence the world of publishing or storytelling? And what you start to have when devices disappear and credentials exist, that anything can be the game. So I'm going to take this almost the point of it's like going into the Matrix where you are in the game because there is no device. And so what happens when you own the relationship where everywhere around you is an experience that you can participate in with your friends or, you know, friends anywhere. And I think that's where it starts to become very interesting that you step into the metaverse itself.
We're getting close to Ready Player One, I think.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that also harkens to things like, you know, the VR as a social platform, as we've seen with the Oculuses of the world, Facebooks, and, you know, there's a lot more of that's converging, and from those different those macro trends, we will see other new sorts of innovation and experiences come out of those.
Right, and it's almost like there was some innovation that existed that just didn't have a home, right? And now we sort of have all the technology, all the capabilities to bring it all together in a really exciting way. Nick, round us out here. Tell us, give us your prediction. Tell us what the future of gaming looks like.
Yeah, I mean, future of gaming, you know, Michael and Mike have really done it justice here, but just to add a little bit more context, maybe around where we sit, you know, in the near term and sort of it'll take time, what we're seeing obviously, you know, is that more of these traditional TV, you know, budgets and these marketing investments are shifting towards the CTV space, right? And OTT. And that's just an important sort of part of what's going to sort of be the currency that helps drive some of this innovation, you know, especially like at places like Samsung, right? But then, you know, I'm still really excited about, you know, seeing gamers spend, you know, so much more time with their next generation consoles, because one of the reasons is, you know, the publishers, we haven't really gotten into the cycle of like the publishers really starting to develop for these next generation gaming experiences. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see, you know, whether it's more cinematic, narrative driven type of experiences. That'll be, you know, great to see, you know, not only because, you know, as you heard before, Grace talking about, Mike, is they'll be optimized for Samsung smart TVs and our mobile platforms, which is really exciting, right? But it sort of, you know, takes us into where the future of gaming continues to evolve and expand the ecosystem, right? Which you heard, you know, Xbox talk about earlier last week, you know, is really how they want to expand the ecosystem. And Michael, to your point, sort of, you know, it sort of just becomes a world where you can game. You know, consumers have the ability to game, you know, streaming across any device or whatever it might be. And, you know, I think from Samsung Ads perspective, what excites us is that, you know, we're focused on supporting all of these experiences, right? That work seamlessly across devices and leverage the advancements in smart TV and 5G, mobile and AI technologies, both from, how the games are being developed, but also how we're, sort of delivering the advertising and the data. And, we're going to continue to develop and deliver these innovative products and services for the gaming and advertising community. And that's really exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. Guys, this has been a fantastic panel. I'm a gamer bystander. As I mentioned, my kids are into it. My family's into it. I try to get taught sometimes, and it's beautiful though. Like, you look at these games and they're gorgeous, and they look, they're high, the quality of the visuals and the graphics, etc. It makes you want to play. So I totally get it. And I'm loving this whole discussion. I really appreciate your time. David, let me hand it back to you.
Yeah, this was phenomenal. So, Nick, Mike, Michael, thank you. Please relay our appreciation to Grace as well. She was phenomenal. This was wonderful. The gaming space is fascinating. It's exploding. It's one of the highest, levels of interest in our community. When we talk to marketers, it's on the esports side, I think you have your first group of brands that have dipped their toe in the water. They're learning, and you're going to see like a big second wave, especially after everything has exploded in that category over the last, year plus. But really appreciate your insights. I'm excited to see as a gamer and as just a person in this industry how it continues to evolve. But we really appreciate your insights, the time that you guys shared with us today, and hopefully we'll have you all back again soon.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
you too.
Have a good day.
And with that, we are going to wrap everything up, guys. This was phenomenal. All the content will be on YouTube and our on-demand section on our site in case you missed anything. Tune in next week. We have our C-Suite Marketing Leadership Summit in lieu of our annual residency at Cannes.